Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to another episode of Feed the Beast Revelation. And today is going to be a little bit different from normal. Today we're not actually going to be working on a build. I know that's a little bit of a bummer, but what I want to do today is focus on upgrading some of our equipment and also going on a little bit of a journey. So, last episode we started this build right here. This is of course our new crop farm building, and it is clearly still lacking. We obviously have a lot of detail work to do, and even the shape is still a bit rough, but it'll get there eventually. More importantly, we did manage to get a fully automated wheat farm in here in this little greenhouse area, and we also tied this into a rather potent bit of power generation that runs purely off of the excess seeds that come from this farm. Now, that power gen has kind of backed up already. The 50 million RF buffer that I put in got completely full, and all of the generators backed up, and even the bioreactors have all backed up. So, yeah. As a result, we have 1,500 seeds that have gone through the system because they had nowhere else to go, and over 6,000 wheat already, which is kind of crazy. So, obviously, we're going to need to find a way to burn through all of that excess pretty soon. The reason I bring all of this up now, though, is that in the process of creating this system, I found a resource that we don't actually have easy access to yet. So in order to create these combustion generators, I needed to create something called end steel. And end steel is relatively easy to create, but it does take end stone, and, well, we don't have access to that. For some reason, we haven't gone to the end yet. I'm not entirely sure why that is, but today we're going to rectify that. That is the little journey that we're going to go on. Now, I don't think that going to the end is going to be particularly challenging, to be honest. I don't think this mod pack, at least as far as I recall, adds much to the end. I don't think it makes the dragon fight any harder or adds any crazy structures or anything. I haven't actually gone to check those, so if it does, well, I guess we're going to find out together. Before we do that, though, there is one other thing I want to try and do, and that is to upgrade our gear situation a little bit. Well, not necessarily upgrade, just change. So we've been rocking this particular set of armor and these particular weapons for quite a long time now. Have my shurikens always been that big? They look like dinner plates. It's kind of crazy. Anyway, we've been rocking this particular set of armor and those weapons for a long time, and I think it's about time that we replace them. That is, after all, kind of the point of this series, to try out a bunch of different mods and try out different ways of doing things, not to just stick with one thing forever. So we're going to replace our armor and weapons today, and if all goes to plan, I also want to try and figure out a new method of getting around. Because we've been using creative flight for quite a while, and, well, it works really well, particularly for building, but when it comes to long distance travel, I think we can do one better. So, let's go ahead and get started with this, and hopefully, before too long, we can venture off to the end. So, the first thing we're going to take care of today is the armor, and I've been looking through the mod pack at all the different options that we have for it, and there's actually quite a lot. Of course, there's really cool mods like Blood Magic, or Botania, or Draconic Evolution, Thaumcraft. All of those we're going to look into more in the future as we start diving more into these individual mods and start having proper setups for them. There's also some easier ones to get into, things like Redstone Arsenal, which we're actually going to be talking about in a few minutes, as well as Construct's Armory, which is basically Tinker's Construct, but for armor. So that might be kind of cool too. The one I've actually decided to look into for today, though, is, coincidentally, EnderIO. So EnderIO has two different gear sets to it. There is the Dark Armor and the Ender Armor. Now, the Ender Armor obviously requires end steel, which, again, we could technically do today, but that kind of defeats the purpose of the whole end trip. So, for right now, we're going to stick to the Dark Armor. And frankly, even that's still going to be an upgrade over what we currently have. Now, the Dark Armor is relatively simple to make. All we need to do is put obsidian, pulverized coal, and iron into our alloy smelter. That's going to smelt up and give us our dark steel ingots. And once we have those dark steel ingots, we can go ahead and turn those into our new Dark Armor. So this Dark Armor, by default, is not really very good. It's actually kind of weak, but it does have the ability to be augmented. So you can see if we hold shift, we can see those anvil upgrades and a bunch of different things that we can apply to each piece of gear. Now, the most important one, and this applies to all four of these, is the empowered one. And this basically allows us to put energy onto these pieces of gear, and that will boost not only their defensiveness and how strong they are, but also their durability. So in order to add that, we need to go to an anvil, pop our piece of gear on here, and there's 4 different levels to the empowerment. So we put a vibrant crystal in first, we put a basic capacitor, and of course I made all of these ahead of time because we saw all of the capacitors last time. And of course the final is the octatic. Oh, they cost enchantment levels. Ah. For some reason I thought that they only took 1 level each time rather than increasing with each one. Okay, that's not too big of a deal. I can fix this. Just give me 1 minute. Whew, so I have successfully empowered all of our new dark armor. I've also added decent XP farm to our to-do list because getting XP via our mob system and the solidified experience drops, yeah, not the fastest thing in the world. I've also gone ahead and charged all of these up, so each one now has a million RF and should be good to go. At this point, this armor is on par with Diamond's armor. It's a little more durable, but protection-wise it's about that level. Now, it doesn't sound too impressive, but frankly, that's probably more than enough for what we're doing. It's definitely stronger than the armor that we've had on this entire time, at least. And we can also enchant it if we want more, so we can throw protection and unbreaking and all of that good stuff on these as well. However, there are still a couple more augments I would like to put on here first. So, let's start off with the boots, and for those we're going to slap on a lily pad. And it sounds a little strange, but that's going to give us the Flippers augment, which is basically like a mini version of Depth Strider. And I assume we could also put Depth Strider on here, and it would kind of stack together and give us even more speed. So that's kind of cool. As for the helmet, for that we can add a note block, a night vision potion, and you'll see why for those shortly, as well as 3 levels of solar panel. And basically what this is going to do is strap a solar panel to the top of our head. Whew, that's expensive. Dang it, man. I'll add that one later. But basically, what this does is it straps a solar panel to the top of our head. There you go. You can see it right there. And basically, that will charge up our armor anytime we are out in daylight. Let's go ahead and slap all this stuff on. Aw, yeah. I've gone from looking like I belong in a 2006 MMO to looking like Minecraft Batman. Complete with fangs. I like it. So, let's go outside, and I'll show you guys what some of the things that I slapped on here can do. So, the note block that we added to the helmet does this. You can see those little notes appearing? Anytime something in the game makes a sound, it will put this little icon there, and that shows through blocks and everything. So, if we're looking for the source of a sound, let's say we have a build and there's a zombie stuck in a wall or something, we'll be able to see what's emitting it. There are also these sonic goggles from some other mod that I know that this mod pack has, so we could use those for the same thing, but it's kind of cool to have them built right into our main armor. Even things like lava bubbling makes little noises, so that's kind of cool. The other thing, the night vision potion, obviously that gives us access to night vision. I think there's a cave over here. Yeah. So if we hop down here, oh, well, that's not much of a cave, but you'll get to see what I mean. If I push the key, there we go. Permanent night vision whenever we need it. That is awesome. Very, very handy thing to have. And I think there's still a couple other things, but they seem to be disabled in this pack. So, like, for example, we should be able to add a speed potion to our pants to give us like a permanent speed 2 boost, but for some reason that seems to be disabled in this pack. And there was also things like adding the ability to jump, like double and triple jump by using pistons on, I think it's the boots. Again, unfortunately that doesn't really work, but yeah, that's our new armor, and I think it's pretty good. Obviously, we will eventually move on to fancier stuff once we get into, you know, Botania or Blood Magic or one of those mods and really dive into it. But for right now, I think this is pretty solid. So, that being said, let's move on and talk about our weapons a little bit. So, earlier we saw that this mod pack has a lot of different ways for us to get armored up, but it has even more ways for us to get weaponry. So not only do all of the mods that have traditional armor sets also have traditional weapons, so, you know, all the mods we saw earlier come with things like swords, bows, axes, all of that cool stuff. We also have other interesting options, like railguns from Immersive Engineering, or the staves from Reliquary, which can do things like shoot fire. And of course, magic mods in general have all kinds of crazy stuff, like shooting lightning from your fingertips. So we have a lot of different ways that we can kill enemies, and we're actually going to be looking at one of the more interesting ones in a little bit, Coincidentally, I actually need it for what we're doing after this. But first, I actually want to look at something a little more traditional. So there's a mod that stood out to me as something that might be a really, really potent mod for early game. And I know we're not really early game anymore, but I kind of want to look into it just for future reference, and that is Redstone Arsenal. So Redstone Arsenal is a mod by the people who make the thermal kind of set of mods, and it's basically an equipment mod. You have a set of armor, you have a set of tools, you have some weapons, you even have a fishing rod. Not actually sure what that one does. The basic idea with this gear is that it's okay by itself, it's not particularly great, but if you have redstone powering it, you can empower the armor or the tools or the weapons and make them very, very strong. In fact, they're at least as strong, if not stronger, than the weapons we're currently using, or at least very close to it. And the craziest thing is it's really actually quite easy to get into this mod. There's only a couple basic components necessary to craft any of these things. So you need the Fluxed Electrum ingot, and that basically just takes the Fluxed Electrum blend, which is just crushed gold and silver along with some destabilized redstone. Not exactly hard to get. Then you need flux crystals, that's just more destabilized redstone with diamonds, and the obsidian rod, which is just crushed obsidian and blaze powder. That's pretty much it. If you can make those three basic components, you can make anything else in this mod, which is kind of crazy. So let's actually go ahead and make a couple of these things so I can show you what they're all about. We're going to make a sword, a bow, and the quiver. And let's go ahead and power these up a little bit. Now, this is the one facet of this mod that makes it kind of not friendly for super early game, because these do take a decent amount of power. As you can see, they can hold a few 100,000 each, and they do burn through it pretty quick, especially this quiver, as you'll see. But if you can set up a decent power source, for example, the tree oil system that we did really early on, you can get weapons like this very quickly, and they can take you pretty far. So that should do. Let's go ahead and hop out and see if we can't find... No, we can't. It's daytime. Dang it. Okay, let me go to night, and I'll show you what these tools can do. So nighttime has come. I also just recorded an entire clip, and it didn't work for some reason. So let's do this again, shall we? So these weapons, as I mentioned before, aren't particularly great on their own, but when you empower them with redstone, indicated by the red outline like so, they actually get pretty dang strong. So for example, one-shotting zombies. In fact, even this armored skeleton over here, I assume, yep, one shot. This sword, with a single swipe, does 16 damage. And obviously, when we're critting, we do a good bit more than that. So pretty much any vanilla mob we can one-shot with this sword. Now, of course, that does take RF each time. So every hit that we do is taking 800 RF off the total, which does sound like a lot when you think that every single hit you're doing that. But considering how much RF we have, and we can easily carry it with us using something like a power cell, it doesn't seem like too big of a deal to me, honestly. So that's kind of cool, but honestly, the sword is just a byproduct. The real thing that I wanted to try out today is the bow. So let's actually go ahead and chuck this quiver down for a moment. So the bow, when it's empowered, is always pretty strong, as you may expect. Pretty much one-shots everything. But that's not the impressive part. So obviously, much like the sword, it's a decent weapon. However, when we also have the quiver with us, it no longer shoots regular arrows. Instead, would you stop? Instead, it shoots these redstone bolts that have no drop to them. They're essentially bullets flying through the sky. And instead of the pullback on the bow determining how far we shoot, we're determining how fast we shoot. So as you can see, we shoot pretty dang quick. And of course, because there's no drop, we don't have to account for it. We just have to kind of shoot where the enemies are. So that's really cool. Of course, I still miss. So that's really cool. And as you can see, it's also really powerful. But what happens when we empower the quiver? Well, let's actually go ahead and round up a few more mobs, and I'll show that to you. Let's see, pull these guys together. Let's try and get this creeper as well, shall we? There we go. So what's this? 6 mobs? So if we go ahead and empower the quiver and take another shot with our bow, all dead. All dead. Yeah, the explosion from this thing is insane, and it kills everything. Like, even those golems, the little, I don't know if we'll be able to find any. The little brown golems that spawn in because of embers that shoot like the fireballs at you, those guys are really sturdy. This one-shots those guys even. Why do you have a creeper head on, guy? And you don't even have to hit the mobs even. Even if you miss, the splash damage from it still does a ton of damage. So this thing is absolutely crazy. And, I mean, I don't want to kill all those mobs, but you get the point. It's really, really crazy how much damage it does. I actually kind of want to use this on the dragon just to see how much damage it takes out of the dragon's health bar. So those are the Redstone Arsenal weapons. I thought it would be kind of cool to try those out. And if I ever start in a new modded world, I think these are going to be my go-to. Because this is kind of nuts. Once you have a decent power source, there's really no reason not to use them. So that's Redstone Arsenal. But this has gone on for far longer than I anticipated it doing. This episode's going a lot slower than I thought it was going to. So we need to hurry up and go and move on to the next topic, which is how we're going to get around. Because as much as I like creative flight, it's not really great for long distances, and I think I found something substantially more fun. So let's go and do that, but first we actually need to create another weapon in order to do it. So this new transportation method that I've been looking into is something from the Reliquary mod called the Rending Gale. So the Rending Gale is a really cool staff. Basically, it allows us to push and pull mobs around or even shoot lightning while it's raining, but by far its most important characteristic is its flight. Now, this isn't just regular creative mode flight, it actually does flight in a much more interesting and fun way. So I'm really looking forward to trying this out, but we do have a bit of an obstacle. So the Rending Gale, much like most items in Reliquary, requires rare mob drops to craft. And most of those aren't too big of a deal. Bat wings or the items for the Void tier, not too hard. The Eye of the Storm, however, that gets a little more tricky. So the Eye of the Storm is a 10% chance drop from a charged creeper. And this is kind of a problem because 1, well, we need to find a charged creeper in the first place, and 2, we don't actually have a way of easily replicating one. Like the mob system I have down below, which I would normally use to get a bunch of mob drops, well, that doesn't actually spawn in charged creepers. They would just generate as regular creepers, unfortunately. So what this means is we need an easily replicatable way of generating charged creepers that we can kill until we get this drop. Now, thankfully, the Reliquary mod itself provides us with that via the Hunter's Handgun. A very cool little item, and it's something I've been looking forward to making, but I was assuming I was going to do it much later in the series, because I have plans. But we're going to have to go ahead and craft that right now. So, as I'm going ahead and doing this, where is it? There we go. Thankfully, our storage system is going to make this nice and easy, I think. But as I'm going ahead and crafting this, the premise behind the Hunter's Handgun is that it gives us a ton of different options for ammunition and what that ammunition can do. Oop, need to craft these. Let's go ahead and craft 2 sets, actually. So basically, the Hunter's Handgun comes with tons of different ammo options. For example, you can put potion effects on all of the different bullets. So you could have potions that, poison, or potions that cause slowness, anything along those lines. Look at this thing, by the way. Doesn't it look amazing? I love guns in Minecraft. It's just something that not many mods do very often, and you never get to see it. It's kind of unfortunate. I'd like to see more like military-style mods. Anyway, like I was saying, there's a ton of different bullet options for this. For example, all of these up here, including a few unique ones added by the mod specifically. So things like exorcism, so it's super effective against undead mobs, ones that deal fire damage, ones that pierce through multiple targets and heat seek, ones that do AoE damage. You get the point. The most important one, however, is the storm shot, which is stronger during storms, obviously, but it also charges up creepers. So basically, if we make some of these bullets, which we're going to have to make... Do I really not have gold nuggets? Come on, game. Don't do that to me. Let's go ahead and make some of these. Okay, and let's make 64. That should be good. We're going to need to go ahead and convert those into magazines. Where's the Storm Shot magazine? There we go. So once this is done, there we go. Now we can load those into the gun. Aw, yeah. So this is going to look amazing. I feel like I cut myself off before. Now I don't remember what I was saying. That's fine. Let's head on out. I'll show you guys how this thing works. It's raining out. Unfortunately, it's not storming out, so it's not going to actually do the lightning strike. Normally, if it's storming and you shoot stuff, it shoots lightning bolts. But, as you can see, it's not too bad. It's not the strongest weapon in the world, but it definitely gets the job done. It's also a bit loud, I realize. Okay, reload. So now what we need to do is find creepers like this guy right here. And as you can see, it charges those guys right up. Then all we need to do is kill them and see if we're going to get the drop, which of course we don't because it's rare. So obviously I have a bit of creeper killing to do, so I'm going to go get to that, and then we'll build the Rending Gale. Yes! We finally got one. Oh, that took so long. So, we finally have the Rending Gale, and there's one last little detail that I forgot to mention earlier, and that's that the Rending Gale itself requires a bit of a fuel source. Now, if you look down in the bottom right corner, you'll see the little Rending Gale icon. Down there, we can swap this over between flight, push, or pull mode, and if it was storming out, we could go to the lightning bolt one as well. Hopefully, we'll have a chance to try that out eventually. But also, we see the fuel requirement, which is feathers. So we can actually load this thing up. I've gone ahead and gathered a bunch of feathers. We'll probably want to set up some kind of automated system for gathering feathers at some point if we want to use this regularly. But if I go ahead and shift right click like that, you can see it loading up. It's taking all of the feathers out of my inventory, and I believe it caps out at 300 in its kind of built-in buffer. And I think that actually lasts a good while. I think when you're flying, it uses up one feather every, I believe, solid 6 seconds of flying. So, not too bad, not too bad. And the flight itself, well, check this out. Swoosh. I'm a little laggy at the moment for some reason. But as you can see, this is a lot faster than creative mode flight. It's actually really fun to swoop around, though the lag is kind of killing me. Not sure why I'm so laggy right now. Regardless, I really like this as a way of getting around. Like, anytime we need to travel somewhere that's more than a few blocks away, I kind of want to do this, because it's pretty awesome. So, I like this a lot, and now that we finally have our new transportation method, our new weapons, and our new armor, I think it's about time we head to the end. Finally. I realize this episode's been kind of dragging along because of how long all this stuff has taken. So, let's actually go on the little adventure. I need to find myself a stronghold, and then of course we're going to jump in, see what the end dragon is like, and see if the end has anything new to offer us, and then we'll call it a day. So I have found the portal. That all went pretty smoothly. Now it's time to go shoot the dragon in the face. Let's do it. Looks like it stuck us quite a ways out, but that's no problem. We can, of course, fly right up in there. No big deal. And so far, this is looking pretty normal. I think the only real difference is that the end lilies are here, and what was that little black box the dragon just destroyed? Looks like a beehive. So, yeah, nothing too crazy. Few ores, pretty much what I would have expected. No, you don't. So, before we kill this dragon off, there is one thing I want to see. I want to see how much damage this bow does to it, with a fully empowered quiver and everything. Just because I suspect that it's going to be quite significant. Wow. Yeah. I could definitely kill the dragon without taking down any of the healing spires. This bow is kind of ridiculous. So that's kind of interesting. I don't want to use that, though. It's a little too OP. Hey, buddy. Actually, I wonder, can we shoot it with the gun? Oh, it doesn't look like the gun works. The bullets don't seem to affect the dragon. That's a bummer. Ow, you jerk. Okay, so experiment's over. Let's take down the dragon. this little floating... Well, never mind. It's gone now. I don't know what that little floating heart thing was. Like, I tried to pick it up, but I couldn't. Interesting. Okay, so the dragon has been defeated. Word of advice, if you ever try and melee the dragon repeatedly, don't. It doesn't work very well. The dragon does so much damage when you're, like, up close to it, just passively, that, yeah, kinda takes forever, because you have to keep dropping back to heal. At least if you're in, you know, like, middle tier or lower armor. Obviously, if you're in something crazy, not so much a big deal. Infinity booster card. Where on earth did I get that? Was that the heart thing that I picked up? I don't know what that was. You guys will have to let me know. So, that was the end dragon. That was kind of fun, actually. But, I'm going to go out into the end really quick. I think I'm going to need to grab... Hey, no. Do you get shot? Yeah, you get shot. Get shot. There we go. So, I'm going to head out into the end really quick and see if there's anything new or interesting. I'm going to guess not. Actually, what do we have here? What is going on? Oh, I think I know what this is. I saw this ages and ages ago, like years ago. I think this is a comet from Draconic Evolution, and it's a good source of these draconium ore blocks. Okay, so that's in here. I don't know if Draconic Evolution adds anything else, though. I do remember seeing these in videos from years ago, so that's a thing. I'm gonna guess there's not a whole lot else, though. I'm gonna roam around for a little bit. End city right off the bat, huh? That's kind of cool. So I'm gonna roam around for a little bit, see if there's anything new and unique out here, because we can see these anytime, of course. And, well, I'll get back with you guys, and then we'll call it a day. Gee, Mur, I wonder what that orange heart could have been. That orange dragon heart that showed up after the dragon died. I wonder where that could have been. Certainly not right in the middle of your inventory, glowing in fluorescent orange, right next to this other thing that maybe you assumed was part of it. No, that couldn't be it at all. What is wrong with me? Anyway, I have roamed around the end for a few minutes now, and it's pretty normal. I didn't spot anything out of the ordinary other than that initial comet, and the fact that there was 5 end cities within this little area, which is kind of crazy. I wish I had that much luck on the vanilla series. It's kind of ridiculous. So, maybe there's other stuff out here in the end. I haven't been able to find it just yet. You guys can let me know if you're sure if there's something out here or not. Either way, for today, I'm going to call it here. I know today's episode was a little bit weird. Next episode, we'll be back to building stuff and working on one of our big projects that we have started. Don't you worry too much about that. But for today, well, I'm going to call it here. So, thank you for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you next time.